So until Saturday or whatever. He can get pot.
I thought it was Boss because his name tag is backwards.
I think it's because they took a selfie picture.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. The next step though is I gotta figure out how to get him a car, and that's the part that's got me stressed out. Having to
Okay,
find a
just
car.
put it out there.
Yeah, I need the audience to help me find a reliable used car. Just a beater. I mean,
Yeah.
because in my mind, I'm like, I just want to get him something that he can he can work on. Something that's reliable, but that it's something goes wrong, he
Yeah, I
can
bet
work
there's
on
some
it
out there
or
in the audience
make
with
some upgrades.
extra, with some, sidecars, or maybe it's a third car or whatever,
Yeah,
or truck.
yeah,
I bet they hook you up, man.
yeah,
This audience, yeah.
yeah. All right, I'm putting it out there. I need to get a vehicle very soon for my kid. So y'all help me out. All right, a lot to get to. 205 545 9950. You're listening to the line. Talk 99.5. Okay, that's what's gonna help me is kicking out the good jams because I'm down here, and if you're giving me good jams, it'll help me get through the show.
All right, man.
You know
It's
what I'm
my
saying?
job. It's my
That's-
job to
I-
get you the jams.
Yeah, that's your job today. Noto Roofing bringing you this part of the show, and their job is to make sure your roof is in tip-top shape and that there's no problems. Because if there's problems don't go away. And I think I had this conversation yesterday about kicking the can down the road. The same goes for your roof. If you just kick the can down the road when it comes to, say, a very small, minute problem with your roof, it's only going to get bigger. It's not going to fix itself. It's not going to get better. It's not going to, like, if there's a hole in your roof, it's not going to seal itself off. It's only going to get worse. So you have to make it a point to call Noto Roofing and get them to come check out your roof. Roof inspection, as we call it. A free roof inspection and complimentary roof tune-up, man. That's what these guys do best. And so reach out to them. Let them know we sent you and get yourself hooked right on up. 205-848-2299. That's 848-2299. Online, notoroofing.com. Also, Real Talk 99.5 TV on YouTube. Make sure you're watching us because when I'm really serious about what I'm talking about, I make eye contact with the camera. And it adds that extra layer of effect, I think. Don't you agree, John Bird? When you make eye contact with the camera?
Very important because you are making eye contact with billions of people.
Yeah, you try it. Try it. Give us a quick monologue with eye contact with the camera.
Okay. I nearly lost my life this morning from the assassins, but let me tell you what. Don't you do it. Don't you let water assassinate your roof.
Oh, that was good.
Oh, I like this looking directly at the camera.
Yeah, that was actually
I
very
can't
effective.
stop now.
All right. So let's keep going. For the second time in a week, and I'm just sticking with Iran for a minute. For the second time in a week, NATO forces have intercepted an Iranian missile entering Turkey airspace. Iran has, over the past few days, and to their own detriment, have been just firing missiles at seemingly every Middle Eastern country. And the people that were once on their side or at least somewhat neutral and didn't want to get involved in it are now getting involved in it because Iran, and I don't know the strategery on this. I don't know what they're thinking. I don't know why they think it's a good idea to do this. They claim, their leadership claims that they're trying to hit U.S. assets and that they're not attacking these other countries. But because they're doing it in such desperation, it's just hitting different parts. And what was it? Azerbaijan, their airport was hit, and their leader, their president, was literally at the Iranian embassy in their country the day before for a Khamenei memorial. The next day, their airport gets hit, and they're like, "Oh, we're coming after Iran. We're retaliating now." And so this is yet another example of that firing into NATO territory, which is going to cause even bigger problems for Iran. Going back to the B-52 bombers that are over in Europe to strike deeper into Iranian territory. Really, Iran's put into a position now where everything militarily has pretty much been obliterated. All that's left that really we can do outside of a few minor things and what's popping up here and there is to start taking out their power infrastructure, their electricity, and the president doesn't want to do that because at the end of the day, that ends up affecting the people of Iran, and those are the people that are ultimately, are not our priority, but they kind of are a little bit of a priority. We don't want them to be negatively affected by this whole changing of the Iranian regime. So, Iran's going to have to figure something out and figure something out quick. Their goal at this moment is to put pressure, one, the economic pressure with the Strait of Hormuz, which I'll talk about in a moment, but the sleeper cells all across the world, and in particular in the West, activating them. The U.S. has actually intercepted encrypted communications on Iranian plots to activate sleeper cells in the West. Listen to this story from ABC News. It says the alert reviewed by ABC News cites preliminary signals analysis of a transmission likely of Iranian origin that was relayed across multiple countries shortly after the death of Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, who was killed in a U.S. Israeli strike on February 28th. The intercepted transmission was encoded and appeared to be destined for clandestine recipients who possessed the encryption key, the kind of message intended to impart instructions to covert operatives or sleeper assets without the use of the internet or cellular networks. It's possible the transmissions could be intended to activate or provide instructions or pre-positioned sleeper assets operating outside the originating country, according to the alert. Quote, while the exact contents of these transmissions cannot currently be determined, the sudden appearance of a new station with international rebroadcast characteristics warrants heightened situational awareness. While the alert is careful to say there is no operational threat tied to a specific location, it does instruct law enforcement agencies to increase their monitoring of suspicious radio frequency activity. If the contents of the alert prove true, it would confirm the fears expressed by law enforcement of officials after the U.S. and Israel struck Iran that sleeper cells deployed around the West could be used for retaliation. So, with that said, we will probably see more terror attacks, and this is something that we've talked about. We will probably see more, but that's more reason for everybody else to be on high alert. I know this is a crazy question, but you don't have a lightning cable charger, do you?
Yes,
Like
I do in the car.
the old school
Yeah.
iPhone?
Can you hold up? Can you hold out to the top of the hour?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I believe it. Do you have a block? I may
Uh,
have a block, but
I do have a block.
okay. Yeah, I'm almost positive I got one down at the car. I got you, bro.
I left my iPad takes the lightning charger, and then my phone takes the Type C. So I've got to carry 2 chargers with me, and I left one of them. Apparently.
Hey man, you know what? Go to Amazon and just get you a couple of extra ones and keep them in each location.
I know, and I always talk about that.
I do too. I don't do it either.
Mike says on the text line, "Good morning, Mike here. Please don't take this the wrong way. Just curious, why do you always say 205 and 9950? Love the show. Have a great day." Because I'm a maniac. I don't know why I say it. I mean, and I guess in this business, you just get used to saying a bunch of stuff. Like some of the stuff that I have to say all the time, it's just, I don't know. I don't know the answer to it.
But you know what? We appreciate him pointing it out because we do need to get those 3 extra digits in.
If I do 205 545 9950, 205 545 9950. I usually do 9950 a lot.
It sounds better, I think.
But then when I repeat it, I say 205 545 9950. I don't know.
That's your style, man.
Yeah, maybe it's just for the diversity of it. Maybe it's DEI, I guess.
We're your DEI station.
We're your DEI station. Talk 99.5. We've got O's and zeros. Did you hear a dog barking just now?
No, somebody's coughing.
Oh.
Hope it's not the sickness. I'm down with the sickness. Oh man, that would be awful.
All right. All right. Let's keep moving. Let me talk about the Strait of Hormuz real quick. So I told y'all, and I really mean this. Some of y'all know. I mean, I dare say some of you guys that are in this audience have even been to the Middle East. Some of you guys that are veterans have probably, been stationed out in that area and know it well. But if you don't, I want you to go to Google Earth or Google Maps or something like that and actually go look at the layout of the Middle East. And it's really going to help you when listening to pundits or listening to this radio show talk about Saudi Arabia or Iran, Iraq, the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Sea, or whatever. You can kind of see what they mean by this. And this is on the topic of gas prices and kind of understanding why gas prices have been fluctuating. If you look at the map, you see what you can go to Google Earth or Google Maps or whatever and type in Strait of Hormuz. And it will immediately take you to the spot. And you can see that it's just this little gap in this channel that connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman. And essentially within the Persian Gulf, which is surrounded by land, they've got, up to, 70, 80, 90 ports in there where oil gets loaded, put on ships, and then it goes out to different parts of the world. The only way for these ships to get out of the Persian Gulf where those ports are is through the Strait of Hormuz. It's not very big at all. It's just a channel that is just kind of a pass-through. But it is surrounded on one side. On one side of it is Dubai, in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, and all that. On the other side is Iran. And there's not much room on either side, so it's close to land no matter where you're at in the Strait of Hormuz, which would give, say, terror cells or, the Iranians the ability to, shoot at your boat as it's coming through. And that's why they've always said they can close it down, and they have closed it down in the past. They threatened yet again with the Operation Epic Fury going on. They said, we're closing it down. You're not allowed to go through there. And the Trump administration, Pete Hegseth and others said, no, we are keeping this open. Even if we have to take it over, we are keeping this open. And if you harm a hair on the head of any ship, whether it's one of ours or anybody else across the world, if you bother them going through the Strait of Hormuz, it's going to be bad news. You're going to be hit harder than you've ever been hit before. And even with that threat, these ships have been afraid to go through because of the unpredictability. They don't know what's going to happen. And so gas prices went up because oil is just sitting there in the in the Persian Gulf. Well, Donald Trump said, "Listen, I need some of you oil producers and you oil tankers to get some guts and go through there. We got you covered." Even on the side of insurance, the insurance for these ships has gone up dramatically for obvious reasons. Insurance companies say there is a possibility that you're going to get struck by a rocket and the whole ship's going to sink, and we don't want to have to pay for it, so we're going to be charging you a lot more money. The Trump administration put plans in place to grant assurances to these oil companies and to these ships to say, we're going to make sure you get through there and that everything's going to be okay and you can afford to do so and you can start getting oil back to the rest of the world. Well, in the sense of the markets and how that affects you, because the ships weren't moving, no matter what the reason may be, the market said, that's not good. We're going to have to raise the price of a barrel of oil. So you saw at the gas pump, gas went up, 30, 40, 50 cents, maybe 75 cents in some cases. And then, as of yesterday, gas came back down. Current price for a barrel of oil now. Let me see what it is right now. It is down to $85.67. It shot up to 120. Back before all this started, it was hovering around like $50, $60 a barrel. It shot up to 120. Now it's back down to 85, and that will ultimately reflect your price at the pump. And many of you have probably seen prices a little bit lower today than they were, say, yesterday or 2 days ago. And that is because a Greek-operated oil tanker has defied the Iranian threats and done what Donald Trump said, which was get some guts and cross the Strait of Hormuz carrying 1 million barrels of Saudi crude oil. And they went through the Strait of Hormuz untouched, as they said they would. And that right there, just that one ship, sets the tone for the markets. Because the markets, and this is why the price came down, the markets saw that Greek ship go through the Strait of Hormuz and said, okay, maybe this oil is going to be able to get out of the Persian Gulf and make its way around the world and get to other countries. And so here we go. You're about to see an argument that's been made by the left and some of the people that are panicking on the right, talking about gas prices, have to backtrack, because you will start seeing, as these oil tankers go through the Strait of Hormuz, you will see the price of oil start to come back down. Even though we've put plans in place to make sure we're taken care of in the event that this did turn into worst case scenario, everything's going to be all right, as we stated. So pay attention to that. It's very important to know that, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't pay attention to this stuff. Only pay attention to the price of oil, especially liberals. Liberals don't actually look into an issue. They just look at it on paper and draw their conclusions. And so that's what's happening. This is still an active situation. It's going to play out. We'll see how it affects gas prices. But I promise you, everything is going to be A-okay. We're not going into this blind. We're not just willy-nilly, doing whatever. But that then brings me to the panicans themselves, especially panicans on the right. Panicans that consider themselves conservatives, and we've seen a lot of them. We've seen the Marjorie Taylor Greens. We see the Thomas Masseys. We see the Rand Pauls. We see many that are not politicians, average people that, are on social media that are like, I voted for Trump, but I didn't vote for this, and blah, 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 blah. I just want to lay out my feelings and what the reality of this is when we get back, because I'm getting, and this is the point that I wanted to make yesterday before we ran out of time. I'm getting tired of hearing complaints from MAGA, quote unquote, about Trump bombing Iran and engaging in the Iranian conflict, complaining about how we're fighting on behalf of Israel, this, that, and the other, which none of that is based in reality. I'll break that down for you when we get back on the other side. Okay. So, sick of hearing complaints from the Panicans about Trump bombing Iran, engaging in the Iranian conflict. These complainers are either blind, they're deaf, they're dumb, or they're watching too much CNN or MSNBC, or maybe even watching too much Tucker Carlson or Candace Owens, who, by the way, I like both of them. I just want to point that out. I like both Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and I agree with them on probably most things. But there's maybe a couple topics here and there that we don't see eye to eye on. That's okay. That's okay. I don't have to agree with everybody on everything. But this particular instance, going the wrong way on it's a big mistake. First of all, this is not a conflict based on Israel. This is a conflict to rid the world of the worst terror regime in history. It's also a conflict based on thousands of innocent Americans and American soldiers murdered by Iran's terrorism and terror funding. And it's also a conflict to prevent the most evil, deranged, radical, and suicidal terrorist country in the world from getting their hands on a nuclear weapon. Can you imagine Hitler with a nuke, John Bird?
Oh, my gosh.
He'd either hold the entire world hostage or he'd use his nuclear weapons to blow up the world.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, there's very little that you can do with a bomb other than destruction.
Well, the mullahs who run Iran, or I guess ran Iran, they were modern day Hitlers. I mean, in a sense, they mass murdered, they tortured, they terrorized, they enslaved, they threatened the world like a Hitler, allowing madmen like these mullahs of Iran to get their hands on a nuclear weapon is suicide for all of us. So the whole world owes Donald Trump a debt of gratitude for having the balls to do what needed to be done. And a lot of them, by the way, are showing it. Just look at the people of Iran. Does Israel benefit? Sure they do. But they're fighting a battle. They're fighting our battle against radical Islam every second of every day. Thank God Israel's on the front lines instead of us. Thank God we're not next door to Iran. Israel takes bullets and bombs every day. And if Israel fails, we're the next target. Trust me, after radical Islamic terrorists kill all the Jews, America and America's Christians are next. You can guarantee yourself that. Also, understand that if, God forbid, Iran ever nukes Israel, we'd be automatically dragged into World War III with a nuclear Iran. That would be a million times worse and more frightening and more deadly than the current conflict. The decision by Donald Trump is a combination of, it's almost a cloning of Ronald Reagan. When Ronald Reagan said to the communists of the Soviet Union and East Germany, tear down this wall, no one ever believed that the Berlin Wall would actually come down, right? You remember this, John Bird.
Oh, yeah.
More so than I do. They thought Reagan was fantasizing. He said, there's no way that's actually going to happen. Ronald Reagan's going to turn on this wall. Yet the infamous wall came down suddenly and with shocking velocity at that after Reagan uttered those words. Everyone's like, oh, my God, they actually did it. This is Donald Trump's tear down that wall moment. Try to block out, and this is my advice to y'all, try to block out all the negative noise pollution from the critics, from the naysayers, and the Trump haters. My prediction here is this Iran conflict will, like the Berlin Wall, end suddenly with shocking velocity. Iran's government will quickly collapse much faster than anybody thought. Trump will have saved the world with his courage to fight the fight that needed to be fought, but no one else had the vision or the balls to do it. They all kicked the can down the road. Every single one of them. Like Reagan, Donald Trump is tearing down the Iranian wall of terror, torture, and mass murder. He is also reversing history. Remember the people appeasing Hitler. They thought they had produced peace in their time. Instead, the weakness emboldened Hitler to conquer weak, cowardly Europe in record time. It allowed him to build up faster as everybody was kind of just like, yeah, it's fine, it's fine. What happened? You allowed that individual to create a monster. And before you knew it, it was too late. You had a huge problem on your hands. What if Chamberlain, for instance, that's one that was appeasing Hitler. What if Chamberlain had stopped Hitler at the beginning? He would have saved the world from 4 terrible years of war, trillions of dollars in war spending, and as many as 80 million people dead. That's exactly what Donald Trump is doing right now. He's taking a bold stand and saving the world from a future World War III, a future nuclear annihilation, trillions in future war spending, and preventing tens of millions of lives lost down the line. And he doesn't have to do that. Trump is not going to be on this earth much longer. He's an old man. He doesn't have to do that. But he actually cares. By standing up to Iran now, Donald Trump is changing the course of history. But there's one big thing in particular that I think is pushing Donald Trump to do this, and that most people are missing about this conflict, is that it's really about China. Trump's playing chess at a high level. He just checkmated China, which is our worst enemy and economic competitor, no matter what anybody says. First by attacking Venezuela, and now by attacking Iran. Trump has just cut off a large portion of China's oil supply. Not only did China buy much of their oil from Venezuela and Iran, they got it from those two evil players at greatly discounted prices. Those days are gone. No more cheap oil for China. This puts the entire China economy at risk of collapse. And these critics of Trump have no clue what's really going on. The way to weaken your enemy is to force them into economic collapse. That's why the Strait of Hormuz has been so important to these Iranian leaders in the past. It was brilliantly played by President Trump. Now, with that out of the way, and I feel firmly handled, the next thing that Donald Trump has to worry about is passing the SAVE Act here at home. Because if you do not win these midterms, you will not be able to continue to choke off China, to subdue Iran, to subdue Venezuela, and to subdue Cuba and save the Cuban people. If the SAVE Act is not passed, and this is where Trump could possibly make a big mistake, and that is with endorsing U.S. Senator John Cornyn in his Texas GOP primary runoff with Ken Paxton. I'll explain why next. Hang tight.